Now let's go to the biggest winner of the debate. So we universally said the loser was Hillary Clinton, so that leaves O'Malley and Sanders. There's only 3 candidates left. And I actually think the biggest winner of this debate was O'Malley. He showed up for the first time, trite talking points for the rest of the debates and the forums that have happened already and on the campaign trail. But here he made a real case for himself, staking out a progressive position, saying, hey, I already did all these things in Maryland. I already raised taxes on the rich. It already got us great results in education. I already increased the minimum wage in Maryland. And I've already, got a great record on all of these issues in the way that I've implemented it. So for the first time, I was like, oh, I didn't know that his education record was that good in Maryland, for example. He also said Hillary Clinton was the candidate of Wall Street. And there was a couple of really sharp moments where you go, well, all right, he's got executive experience as the governor of Maryland. He made a case for himself. I'm not convinced yet, but at least it was effective, right?
Yeah.
Now, the reason I'm not giving it to Sanders is because I thought in the foreign policy part there, he seemed like he didn't want to answer the questions. They asked him about the ISIS attack in Paris. As Anna pointed out earlier in our live coverage, she said he distracted right away. He did like a 30-second answer on terrorism and then went to, let's go after the billionaires. No, save that for later in the debate. It was awkward, and it reinforced a problem for Bernie Sanders. The problem with Bernie Sanders is you're not sure, or at least this is the general mainstream media thinking, and I think really some voters do have this concern. Can he be commander-in-chief? What is he going to do with foreign policy? How is he going to handle ISIS? And by avoiding that question, he made that problem worse.
Well, prior to the debate happening, of course, because of the attacks in Paris, CBS decided to change the format of the debate to focus a lot more on foreign policy. And so all the candidates had to do a phone conference to kind of, get them ready to know what to expect. And apparently an aide for Bernie Sanders was so outraged about it, about them changing the terms of the debate, that he went on this, rant for a couple of minutes, and that became its own news story. So I knew coming into this debate that Bernie Sanders was not happy about the fact that they changed the format in the last minute. But here's the reality. I mean, if something like this happens, it's a huge news story. So many people lost their lives. Of course they're going to focus on foreign policy. As someone who wants to be commander-in-chief, you have to be prepared to answer those questions.
Yeah, you have to roll with the punches. You have to go with, and if you were the actual president and you wanted to do Wall Street reform, we're all 100% with you. But if there's an attack, well, first you got to respond to that attack.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I would say also, if his nervousness or fear is based on his lack of interest in continually sending American forces overseas at the drop of a hat, you don't need to be nervous about that, man. If sending them overseas continues to cause the problem and births new terrorist organizations, then you should proudly say that you're not going to do that constantly. That might stop us from creating whatever terrorist organization acronym that we're obsessively talking about every day in 5 years. Maybe we don't create that instead of simply having a good strategy to fight it once we've made it.
Now,
that would be good.
To be fair to him, though, when it came to foreign policy, he was the only one who came up with something at least a little specific.
That's true.
And what I mean by that is he actually talked about how, hey, you know what? How about we work with our Muslim allies, or Muslim allies, as he said, and have them work with us to fight against this terrorism, which is absolutely true. I mean, what do we do in America? We disenfranchise Muslims, right? We make all Muslims the enemy, and I don't think that's the right way to go about it. You need moderate Muslims, peaceful Muslims to join the fight, and you can't do that if you continuously disenfranchise them.
Yes.
Right, and I'll go one step further. I mean, that might seem like, hey, isn't that what all the Democrats would say? Eventually they did join him in saying that. But no, there's a second part of that, which is that, look, they got to share some responsibility here. We can't we can't take all the burden onto ourselves in fighting against ISIS and extremists. Hey, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Turkey, let's go, jump in here, and you've got to help us fight back. And we don't say that enough, and I think that was a good thing to point out. Now, again, Hillary there did show her expertise a little bit by saying, hey, to be fair, Jordan's been doing a lot, and that's true.
That's true.
And as Secretary of State and former Secretary of State, she knows that. So there was back and forth, and don't get me wrong, Bernie Sanders shined in the second half of the debate when it did actually finally come to domestic policy. There, he was very strong.
Yeah.
But overall, since I thought he had some failings in the first half, that O'Malley came out a little ahead there.